Well, hello again. This is Ashley Scipione.
And this is Susan West.
And we're with Fidelity National Title.
And Chelsea Title.
Chicago Title.
Commonwealth.
Alamo.
Tycor.
We are with the nation's largest, number one underwriter, both financially and with market share. And that's something we're both really proud about.
For sure.
And today, we're not here to talk about our underwriter, our parent company. We're here to talk about remote online notarization. And actually, I'm thinking a lot of people in our industry know what that is.
Yep.
I don't think a lot of people understand it, although they know what it is. So let's start out by you explaining, just in case there's a viewer out there that doesn't know what remote online notarization, what is that?
It's basically a method for notarizing documents online.
Okay.
So everybody wants to just sign remotely. They want to sign electronically, but they don't understand how that's going to happen, especially when you have to have documents notarized.
Right.
You can't do it via DocuSign.
You can't do it via DocuSign.
No. So it's a system where Florida's one of like 23 states, or was it maybe 23, the 23rd?
Yeah, I feel like 27th, but it's been some time. So let's answer this question for our viewers. When was remote online notarization approved for Florida?
Coincidentally, it was approved right before COVID hit.
Right.
So January of 2020, it became legal in Florida. So everybody thinks it just rolled out because of COVID or for COVID. But it was already in the works.
Yeah, and there have been some other things, lenders lightening up on things like DocuSign and that type of thing. But remote online notarization was approved in Florida. There's a legal process for its approval in Florida, January 2020. And Ashley, you clearly are our expert in several things, but specifically in remote online notarization. And we made a choice, although we have a large operation for Fidelity, we made a choice only to have one remote online notary. And I think we have some examples as we've added new people and the shortcuts people take on remote online notarization without even realizing it. So with that being said, it was approved in January 2020. It's used as a vehicle to notarize online. Let's talk about exactly how the process works. And you know me, as you're going to talk about this, I'm going to interject how it doesn't work and some of people's misconceptions that have gotten us into, not us into trouble, but people assuming that remote online notarization can be used for a transaction, and then we're the bearer of the bad news when we say can't be.
Yeah, so first and foremost, I think it should be made a point that you can't necessarily use it with finance deals.
Okay.
So if you're a borrower wanting to sign loan documents, the chances are very slim that your lender is going to accept remote online notarization.
Well, wait a minute. If I'm a seller and you're a buyer and you're borrowing money from a conventional institutional lender to buy my home, can my deed that I'm signing to convey the property to you, can my deed be notarized with remote online notarization?
Yes. Most often you can.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's just the loan documents specifically that they don't like to be electronically signed. So as a seller, there is a slim chance that it won't be approved, but the majority of sellers are able to sign online.
Okay. So if I'm a seller and I am not from this country?
Well, that's a problem if you're not a U.S. citizen or a resident alien. So if you are a citizen or a resident alien with a credit history, so even if you're, a resident of another country, but you've been here, you've had some car loans or some credit cards or whatever, you might still be eligible.
Okay.
But if you don't have any of those things, no social security number, you cannot do remote online notarization in Florida.
So back up, here we are, we have a transaction, I'm the seller, I'm a United States citizen with credit history, I'm a candidate automatically.
Typically.
Yeah. Okay. We're not gonna dissect typically. We're just gonna go with typically.
Yeah.
And then from there, I'm gonna ask you the next question. So practically speaking, I have a cell phone. By the way, it's an iPhone. I think maybe a 13, maybe. I don't know.
Yes.
Whatever my iPhone is, if I have my iPhone and I'm a United States citizen and I have a credit history, can we just use my iPhone?
No. So the program is designed to generate questions. It's interactive. It's live audio and video. So when you use your cell phone, it actually disconnects during the signing process. So it has to be a tablet. Tablets work. A laptop or a computer with a microphone and a camera.
Wow. Okay. So United States citizen, credit history, have to look at the transaction to see if there's a lender involved and if it's approved. Typically on the buy side, lender won't approve. typically on the sell side, lender will approve.
Right.
And then I have to have the right equipment.
Yes, and some people think their laptop has a camera or a microphone and it doesn't.
Wow.
Also, a lot of people try to use their work computers, and a lot of times there's a bunch of security, like firewalls and stuff in place, and it prevents the online notary sites.
Wow.
So best to use a personal device.
Okay. Do we do a good job of informing the client, in this case the seller, on what they need in order to have a successful notarization?
We try to explain it as best as we can. Some people are just so excited and they just want to sign online. It's convenient. There's no fee. We don't charge our customers for it. So, they just, yes, they want to do it. It's just constant yes, and I don't think they're hearing the possible complications.
Right.
So
start us from the beginning. We've set up, well, first of all, the beginning is one of our offices reaches out to you, and you actually, in conjunction with one of our offices, you set up an appointment.
Yeah. So once the appointment has been set, I will send the seller a meeting link, and it's for a specific time, and they will click on that link and it will take them to the online notary site. So there's a few platforms out there. We use Notary Cam, but just to be clear, that's not Zoom, that's not FaceTime. People think that because they do Zoom meetings for work, they can automatically get onto this Notary Cam site, and it's not always, it doesn't always work.
If you're notarizing my signature through remote online notarization, should I practice that link before?
Yeah, in the body of my email where I send you the meeting link, there are some equipment tests that you can run.
Okay.
But again, it's technology. So sometimes it works great and sometimes it doesn't. So
Right.
there's no guarantees that it's going to be successful.
So we determine that we think it's typically we determine that it should be successful. You set up the appointment, and then you're clicking on the link at the same time, the seller, in this instance me.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we get on together. It is a live video. So I talk to the seller or the signer through my computer, and I just walk them through the steps, which basically consist in the beginning of 2 ID verification processes. So the very first is something that we call KBA, which is knowledge-based authentication. They put in their information, they hit submit, and it generates 5 questions. Actually stems from LexisNexis. So it pulls on that credit history, which is why they have to be a U.S. citizen with a credit history.
So
right?
it might ask me what kind of car did I own in 2010?
Yes.
And it gives me 4 choices?
4 or 5. And,
Okay.
and normally the last one is none of the above. So it really is challenging
Right.
for most people. If you've lived a lot of places, owned a lot of cars, people sit there and they scratch their heads. You have to get 4 of those 5 questions right, and you only have 2 minutes to do it.
Wow.
So pressure's on. I
Right.
mean, we joke on the session that it's test time.
Test time, right. So typically, let's say I can't remember in 2010 what car I drove, and I fail. What happens?
So we give the opportunity to try one more time, maybe 2 more times, and it sometimes will change some of the questions. So if you were stuck on 1 or 2, you might be more successful the second time. At 3, if we allow you to try 3 times, the system blocks you.
Okay, wow.
Like you're done for 48 hours, you can't do it. And there's a good chance it just won't be successful in 48 hours from now. I mean,
Right.
It's not like you're going to learn more about your history.
Right.
So that's kind of the first roadblock.
But the idea is, the objective is to make sure, since I'm not in front of you with my driver's license, to make sure that I'm who I say I am.
Correct. Yep.
Right.
And it's not successful all the time. I literally had one this morning that failed. If you've ever had your identity stolen, it could populate questions that don't ring true to you, and it's because of that identity theft. And so it's pulling questions from that period of time.
Wow.
So it's created some issues, and people get quite upset about it.
Right.
I don't control the questions, I promise.
You don't.
No.
So the questions are asked. My identity, because I know my credit history, is validated.
Yep.
So what do we do next?
So the second step is with your actual ID itself. So you can use a license or a passport. There's multiple methods for uploading it. You can have an image saved on your computer, as long as it's in color. Your license has to be back and front. You can use your webcam to take the picture, or you can also use your cell phone. So those are the 3 options for uploading it. And that also is very challenging.
I feel like I've heard you say, go to your stove and use the stove light.
Yes, so people have all kinds of different lighting, different surfaces, a dark surface, more lighting. A lot of IDs have holograms. So if it's reflecting too much and it's obscuring some of the information on the ID, it won't pass. I mean, I've had people run around their house screaming with frustration. So, if you have a new device, I mean, it can go really quickly. Sometimes else you'll be taking 15 pictures trying to get it to work. And I can't approve that ID. It has to be approved by the computer system.
Right, and then you can move forward. Might I add here, at risk of, I don't think this will embarrass you, but you have a remote online notarization voice, and you're so much more patient and friendly on those. Is there a reason why that is?
Thanks, Susan.
Yeah.
Customer service.
So anyway, it's just great. I always know. We share an office when we're in the office together, and I always know when Ashley's on a remote online notarization. This whole demeanor is just amazing. But I say that joking, but also to say, because it's computer, because it's technology, because it's an important, significant, necessary document for the transaction, your patience really has walked people through to be able to be successful.
Well, yes, and in some instances, it's absolutely necessary. I mean, you're a U.S. citizen. Well, with COVID, go back to COVID, people were trapped in other countries, right?
Right.
They couldn't fly back to the U.S. So the U.S. embassies were closed. All local businesses were shut down. Like, the only option was this remote online notarization. And also, I should mention that on deeds for sellers, you have to have 2 witnesses.
Right.
So it's also very convenient that I can pull someone from inside our office to act as a witness, because perhaps you work at home or you're in that other country by yourself, and who else is going to be there to sign with you?
Well, why is it every time I'm your witness, you literally make me come across your desk so they can see me, and I have to click on the buttons with these people watching me right at the same time?
Yeah, well, because it's all on video.
Okay.
So if you're witnessing someone's signature, you should actually witness it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, it's so cool. Like, and you set it up, which is great. And she always tells me where to click and what to do. So it's pretty seamless. But it is interesting, and I wanted to point that out, that you're following all the rules. Why?
Well, one, because it's on camera. If I break the rules, you can tell.
Yeah. But besides that,
it's legal. I mean,
Right.
we're selling a property. It's typically a lot of money involved. I mean, it's important that we follow those ID steps, to prevent fraud and other things. So.
Right. I think it's also, again, we could go off down so many different directions, but this deed that we're talking about right now, that Ashley would be being the remote online notary for a deed that I'm signing to convey the property to the new owner, to the buyer, that's our insurable instrument. And the validity of that instrument is also determined by if it's properly witnessed and notarized. So if you cut corners and don't do things correctly, could at some point, Ashley, someone challenge the validity of the conveyance from me to the buyer?
I think definitely. And I even have to go a little bit above and beyond and make sure that they're clicking the mouse themselves. So typically, if it's like a husband and wife or something, one person's kind of driving the computer, and they tend to want to just click everything for the other person. So answering the questions and stuff, they're there answering them together, that's fine. But to actually click it, I'm like, it's like signing. You can't sign for someone else. So I have to like, okay, move the mouse. You have to click it, I try to be as accurate as possible. Well,
good. So the documents are in the system. They're uploaded.
Yep. So, I upload the documents. I tag everything. Once we get through the ID verification, it's smooth sailing. Typically, you just kind of click it as if you would like a DocuSign. I walk them through it, and then we download them, and they stay in electronic form, and we submit them electronically to the clerk for recording. Side note, like the closing statement, your form on where proceeds are sent, that is all sent separately via DocuSign. The online platform with the video is only meant for documents that actually require notarization.
Right. So you have to explain the documents that are being notarized. And oftentimes I also hear you explaining to our clients what's going to happen next.
Right.
So that they understand that the complete closing didn't just happen. And then I hear you say you're going to receive the rest DocuSign, or you're going to be coming into our office in Oviedo. You are letting them know what has to happen to actually complete the transaction.
Right. Yeah, it's very important for them to know it's not done.
Right.
It's not done yet.
Not done. And then the video, what happens to the video?
We save the video also. I think it's 10 years that we have to save it. So
Wow.
we upload the video, the documents, the IDs, all that good stuff into our system.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive.
It's cool.
Right. So what would you say if you had to list a couple misconceptions about remote online notarization, what would they be?
The biggest one is that it's always going to work. I mean, it really isn't. I mean, you can think that you are amazing at technology, and we still will hit a few glitches. We have older clients that want to sign that hate technology. It's meant to be a convenience, but it's not the only option. So you have to really figure out if it makes sense to you. I mean, how good is your internet? If you have really slow internet, or, I don't know if anybody has dial-up anymore, but if they did, probably wouldn't work well, because we are live streaming video.
Well, can you perform remote online notarizations from home?
No, I cannot.
Why not?
I cannot, because I moved into the middle of the woods and there's no internet out there.
Exactly.
So no more
Right.
Rons from home.
Right.
Also, everything on the website is in English. Mm-hmm. So we've had some signers who speak Spanish, or even I had a guy in China who only speak Chinese.
Right.
And his realtor wanted to join the session, to help translate. And realistically, you can't see what's on the other person's computer. So unless you're physically present in the room with them,
Right.
it's really not a help. So
yeah, and there wasn't any way for the realtor that spoke Chinese to see and read the KBA, knowledge-based authentication questions. Therefore, there was no passing.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So
that's a barrier as well.
okay, good. So how many do you say remote online notarizations you do, say, a month?
A month, I would probably say at least 40.
Wow. Good.
We do a lot. We do a lot of
That's
online
good. That's
notarizations.
good. So today, we're here just to really go through the process to let everybody know it's not as easy as 1, 2, 3, except for when it is.
Sometimes it is.
Right? And it's not for every transaction, but we do our very best to help the sellers through it and make sure that we're as helpful as possible. And sometimes on the buy side, actually, buyers are doing power of attorney sometimes.
Yeah. Again, it has to be approved by the lender, but we do a lot of power of attorneys via Ron.
Okay, good. So that's a way to accommodate the lender's needs, but we still need their approval when there's a mortgage involved.
Correct.
Just want to thank everyone for watching. We trust that the remote online notarization conversation we had today was beneficial. And we plan to come back again to give you more information as we continue to help our industry understand what we do better, and therefore we can make more real estate transactions happen, more home ownership, and make more dreams come true. What do you think about that, Ashley?
Sounds fabulous.
Sounds fabulous. We'll be back and we'll see you the next time.
Bye.